Dear ones, as I remove my mask so you can hear me, a heartfelt welcome to this very special day. As we gather together, both near and through the miracles of technology afar, we welcome those that are witnessing this at home or wherever you may be, to celebrate the marriage of Melissa Anna Green and Christopher Aram Gazarian. With abundant joy, it is my honor to share with you that both Melissa and Chris have thoughtfully discerned their loving relationship and are thrilled to declare before all of you their covenantal vows, a promise of commitments to a lifelong relationship of sacred love. Melissa and Chris are ever grateful for all of your love and support through the years. And in this very special moment, as witnesses to their covenant promise. A special thanks to Gail and Alan Wegner for the wonderful music contributions today. Thank you. So sweet. So, today's ceremony of marriage is an outward expression that openly and faithfully shares a commitment to the unity of a loving relationship. This bond of love binds not just Melissa and Chris, but each of us in their union of love. Spirit-filled and yes, resilient, this journey of abiding love has brought Melissa and Chris and their families and friends to this very, very special moment. And so it is. As their friends and family, we will all have a share in that union. So today we are all here, both near and far, present to witness their covenant union, to listen to their vows of divine love for one another, to share and to pledge our love and support to them. So you see, it's reciprocal. We share it to them in this new chapter of their life journey together. Okay. I want to invite you all at home, all here, all wherever you may be, to rest your minds and your bodies and your spirits, and maybe your eyes, your whole being, as I share a meditation with you, a prayerful meditation. Let's be in the spirit together, shall we? Beloved one, gather us in together and let joy fill our hearts. Transform this abundant nature all around us. Transform it into holy ground, a sacred space filled with hope, filled with promise. May this day be an outpouring of divine love overflowing for us all. May the spirit winds flow through Melissa and Chris as they share promises and as we witness the unity of their loving relationship. in the midst of this canopy of hope, a new and lasting foundation will begin for Melissa and Chris. Love, in the midst of your bountiful nature, help us then to celebrate this marriage of Melissa and Chris. For we are witnesses in this wondrous sanctuary. We can see the beauty and long-standing trees of life for which we are all then connected. And so may today's ceremony of love between Melissa and Chris, the vastness of this very nature, remind us and commit us to care and nurture long and loving relationships. Always. Especially so may they be then a blessing here today. And may they overflow upon you, Melissa, and overflow upon you, Chris, as they begin a new chapter in their love for one another. May it be so. I want to invite John, the father of the bride, up. Would like to share some words with you now.
Melissa and Chris, after what we just heard, I hope you don't mind. My words are short, but I hope they have meaning to you. Beneath these magnificent yew trees form a natural chuppah, a holy space to celebrate your marriage. And their roots run deep and they run wide, just as yours will. Their branches, as you can see, span everywhere, just as your life together will. And the sunlight shines and dances all around, just as you will. Let this space be a reminder for you, always. And all are invited to share in this space, a symbol of warmth, love, and happiness.
Thank you, John. Thank you for your words of wisdom. Okay, so now we've come to the moment of blessings. But aren't we already feeling the blessings? So I want to read to you a brief introduction of the tradition of the 7 blessings, which we'll embark upon now. And so the tradition of the 7 blessings prayerfully then evokes, faux pas. You see, even clergy mess up. We come to a moment of the wedding where Chris and Melissa would love to celebrate something with their moms. The wedding is also a celebration of family. It is the blending of 2 families, separate up to this moment, but united from this day forward. Melissa and Christopher wish to honor this blending of families by presenting a flower then to their moms, to thank them for their wisdom, support, and their unconditional love that has been given them throughout their lives. Thank you. Thank you for saving your dad. Okay, take 2. Intro to the, let me share with you some words of the 7 blessings. The tradition of the 7 blessings prayerfully evokes a unifying and outward expression which places importance to relationships. And isn't that what a wedding is all about? Relationships. The seven blessings lifting up praise, the relationship between the Holy One of all creation, of abundant joy, of love, and most importantly, of those united in marriage. Today, we will reimagine this blessing ritual, which will speak to important markers which have and continue to shape Melissa and Chris's love relationship. We shall now hear these special blessings from family and from friends gathered here today, and after we will wrap these blessings in a gift of prayer for Melissa and Chris. Let us begin the seven blessings.
I spend my days learning alongside children, glimpsing the world through their giant, wondering eyes, and I am so lucky to spend my days deep in imagination with them. They notice a leaf, a worm, a stone that fits perfectly in their hands, a forgotten bracelet, a smooth twig with a single bud. Substitute any item that you have walked by time and again and thought of only for an instant, if at all. They reach for it. They touch or not. They run their fingers along its chopped, smooth, scratched, alive surface, and they hold their hands in place, drinking through fingertips, or not. They wonder what it might feel like as they stretch their arms towards the object of their eye. They wonder aloud or to themselves, what is this? What does it do? Why is it here? Who owns this? Who made this? Can I own this? Does someone need this? Will someone miss this? Will I miss this? How can I leave it alone? They carry it home to share or to hide, still wondering, a treasure safe in a palm, a pocket, a tiny box, a trusted one's hand, behind the rock in the yard covered by a plastic bucket. To learn its name, they poll their trusted people. They ask siblings, parents, peers, teachers, neighbors, pets, imaginary playmates, dolls. They ask themselves. They understand what it is they are holding. They change their mind. It can be both. It can be anything. They plan what to do with this object. The plans can change and the play can change, and the child continues to imagine the potential. I don't recall when I learned the meaning of the word treasure. Children seem to just understand the word, and it becomes a catch-all for items they notice, interact with, and accumulate throughout each day. Any number of everyday walk right by, don't think twice about it items are treasures to children. They are not treasures to me, but that is because I cannot always see their potential so clearly. A child can imagine the potential so quickly, so easily. The value each item holds is immeasurable. This ability to imagine the potential is not unattainable. It is there for those of us over a certain age with a certain amount of life experience. Those of us who have passed the threshold of knowing enough about the world to quickly guess an object's name, to assign an object its purpose, to tamp down any question of what if, to walk away knowing without thinking what it is that we saw. We can imagine the potential of ordinary objects in ordinary moments when we give attention to the routine, when we think about the small. Chris and Melissa have a relationship built on these everyday, don't think twice, walk right by moments. Their partnership is one full of potentials. There were so many moments, days, and weeks of unknown. The hows, the whys, the whens have been alongside them for so many of their shared moments. We can't ignore that these were moments of fear and of sadness and of potential. They made space for great, wide, life-spanning hope, but so often only allowed themselves to focus on the small. They thought deeply about these small moments, the normal moments, the routines of our everyday lives. They allowed themselves to imagine a shared meal with friends in a backyard, a monthly subscription for coffee beans and records, a bookcase full of cookbooks, pottery classes, a conversation about whether the living room is too brown. They imagined overbuying dried beans in bulk. They allowed themselves to imagine building a stand for a coffee maker that doesn't quite fit but will be used regardless. Sharing memories of the friendship from a time when this piece of your life was unrealized. Getting a flat tire on a first bike ride after many years. A stranger asking to take your picture as you lounge together in a hammock along the Charles, and then keeping the photo for herself because it seemed to be the perfect moment. These ordinary moments held your and all of our hope for your shared future. My blessing for you is to continue to imagine these small, everyday moments. These moments, it turns out, are not so small. They are where your life is lived. The smooth twig with a single bud, the forgotten bracelet, the perfectly sized stone, all have the potential to accompany their finder in any number of adventures. These items are not unlike your story. You've held each other close to imagine the potential of your shared lives. You've changed, you've grown, you've retreated, you've taken risks, and you've planned together. When there was so much unknown, you both imagined a life with each other that had potential. And we are overjoyed to be here celebrating this moment, this road, this life with you both. My wish for you is to hold close this idea of potential, the potential of each object and of each moment. To embrace the what is this? Why is this here? How did this happen? Does this belong to someone? Does someone need this? Will someone miss this? Will I miss this? How can I leave this alone? Continue to imagine the potential. Melissa and Chris, remember to hold imagination close to you as a blessing for the rest of your life together.
Take that for you.
No, I don't like.
Okay.
No, I like.
Hi guys. This is nice. Okay. Whew. So, everyone. Guys. So I'm going to talk a little bit about learning today, and my blessing is going to be about learning, but I have two little sub blessings in here. The first is about the joy of learning together. One of the things that I love, this one's going to be a light one, so take a breath. One of the things that I love most about Mel and Chris is how much they love learning together. And even in moments where it's like one of their projects, one of their homework assignments, they always do it together, and it like is just the greatest thing ever. So a few examples of this. When Chris was taking an online biology class, online class, he had an assignment to make a cell, a like physical representation of a cell. The way I would have done it, I would take 5 minutes, cut some like construction paper up, go to class, and show it on the camera. That, of course, is not what Mel and Chris did. Chris decided with Melissa to spend the entire weekend making a resin cell. And you can like look at it in all different ways, the mitochondria, like if you held it this way and this way was the Golgi body or something. And they even put like glitter so the cytoplasm was really alive. And they made this resin cell together. A homework assignment for an online course turned into a joyful weekend. When Melissa was preparing for grad school, she needed to put together a portfolio. Again, a like singular homework assignment that Melissa should just done, but instead it became a team project where Chris sat asking probing questions, making sure Melissa could fill the gaps in her portfolio, doing art right beside her. And this joy of learning and learning together is something that is just so contagious. And I've been sitting back watching when these moments happen, and it's the best. More recently, Chris has taken a pottery class, and he really wanted to do well on the assignment because he cares deeply about ceramics, but also because he wanted to impress Harris, his cool, hip ceramics teacher. And we were sitting in the living room, and Chris was talking about his pottery, and Melissa was like on her desk doing whatever. And then she swiveled around to face Chris and started asking, again, probing questions. What about this? Think about the assignment this way. And this like joyful like group effort to make these creative objects or homework assignments is just lovely. Even Wednesday, Melissa was talking about her hair and how she wanted to show up today and how to do the curls right. It's very, very beautiful. And she was getting frustrated, not sure what to do. And Chris YouTube videos for hours how to support Mel in curling her hair. And this joy of learning and pursuing new things together is so special, and like it's just the ease and the grace in which they work together to solve these problems is such a joy. So for this first commitment, Melissa and Chris, remember to hold the joy of learning together close to you as a blessing for the rest of your life. And now to the second part. I want to talk a little bit about your commitment to intentional growth for each other. Hi guys. The past 7 years, you could have chose the easy way out at any point, but instead you chose each other, and you chose each other over and over and over again, and that required vulnerability. It required like such deep empathy and courage time after time again. And because you're so committed to learning together about each other, about yourselves, and we all have so much to learn about what you've done and how much you've grown together and how you chose that. What else did I have to say here? Through the many phases of your relationships, they certainly haven't been without their challenges, but you've handled them all with such grace and humility. And my hope for you guys is you continue to be mindful about your communication, step towards challenges together, and never stop learning. So, Mel and Chris, remember to hold the commitment of intentional growth close to you as a blessing for the rest of your lives. I love you very much.
All right. Okay. Chris and Melissa, I wish you the blessing of generosity. Highly recommend you guys try it sometime. I think you would really like it. No, okay. I'm not here to remind you to give to others once in a while, but rather to reaffirm the importance of generosity as a value of yours. To serve as a symbolic accountability holder here in front of your closest family and loved ones. We can look around today and see that at the heart of your commitment to generosity is the beauty and the strength of the relationships you continue to cultivate in your world. Your spirit of generosity flows out of you, gets to meander around in me for a little bit, and now flows back into you. Hold tightly the gifts you receive from one another in your daily exchanges of love and generativity. Many of us here, I think, know what I'm referring to. There's the gifts of fancy decaf coffee for Chris, fancy puff pastries for Mel, the sturdy receiving of each other's big feelings and little details from your days. This warmth and openness that you show to one another is also felt by all your loved ones. Your convictions resonate throughout your community. The hard parts of life you believe should be spoken about more openly. The importance of carving out your own traditions, like today. You're accepting, thoughtful, and intentional. These qualities are among the many that make it so that without even realizing it, we also receive gifts from you. And I'm actually not always sure that you two realize it either. When I think about you, Chris and Melissa, think about the courageous ways in which you're so true to who you are and how you put yourselves out there, which for us feels like a gift. It's a gift to be present for the ways in which you take norms and expectations and turn them upside down, making the world completely your own. You do these things not only for yourselves, I believe, but for those around you as well. I reaffirm your commitment to generosity and that you continue to practice it because you know it contributes to a better world. Keep your giving spirit strong in ways that do not force you to sacrifice any parts of who you are. My impulse, and many others as well, I think, when it comes to practicing generosity, is often to prioritize it in a way that does not allow for me to maintain or take care of my own self at the same time. Without a doubt, I think of you both as generous people. And I mean beyond Melissa sneaking me pastries from the biscuit counter, or Chris finding a way to get birthday gifts to your friends from the hospital bed. So you're both generous. And I also think of you both as people who are extremely good at knowing when to step back and make sure that your own well is full. Or to make sure that your own clay is well hydrated, or that your own landscape is well architected. I'll let you choose the metaphor. Pretty generous of you. These two characteristics may seem to contradict one another, but when I think about your relationship, I find that in fact they don't at all. I'm thinking now about all the fulfilling talks I've had with Chris and Mel that end with them being somehow polite and blunt at the same time when they tell me to leave so they can go to sleep. I reaffirm your ability to strike the beautiful balance of giving to others while protecting one another and nurturing your own partnership. Continue to amplify generosity in one another. Sustain each other with gifts of time and patience, the benefit of the doubt. Gifts of safety and comfort during expressions of love and during painful struggles. Remember to express your needs, big and small, to one another, and continue to work really hard to stretch yourselves while finding ways to meet those needs for the other. Know that doing so will fortify your partnership with a sustained generosity that will allow you to continue to give to each other and to those lucky enough to be around you. Melissa and Chris, remember to hold generosity close to you as a blessing for the rest of your life together. Love you guys.
Let's see if I can get through this. Okay, without crying. You can definitely get through it. At first, I was struggling with my word, reciprocity, especially as it shows up in long-term relationships. And then I started to think about the person who I've had the longest relationship with in my life. Melissa? Sorry, Chris. Growing up as your sister meant I always had a map. You were a constant role model to me. Everything you did was interesting and cool and beautiful, and I started to develop a sense of self just by staying attuned and emulating you. If you were angry, I felt angry. If you laughed, I laughed. If you thought Good Charlotte was cool, so did I. I thought this was just a little sister experience for a long time, until actually very recently when we talked about what we meant to each other. You brought up how meaningful it was to spend hours building imaginary worlds together. We used to get excited just to hear each other's ideas, and our enthusiasm somehow validated each other's creativity and brain. And if the idea was exciting enough, we would sometimes even take it on as our own. It didn't matter where it started, just that it was born from sharing ourselves with each other, and we could use it however we wanted. You also reminded me of one morning when we were getting ready to go to school. Apparently, as we were headed out the door, you told me you wanted to wear the shirt I was wearing. And without thinking, I took the shirt off and let you wear it to school. When you shared this, you said that you thought it was a sign of my generosity, Jake. But when I think about that moment, it was so clear to me that you already gave me so much every day just by being there, that it felt like nothing to let you wear the shirt if that's what you wanted. What's important, I think, to acknowledge about reciprocity is that both people in a relationship aren't necessarily giving and receiving in quantifiable ways equally 100% of the time. I gave you the shirt off my back, and I get to sleep one room next to you every night. There's no way to calculate the balance between those things. It's less about what you have done and more about what you trust the other will do to show up in your relationship. And for us as sisters, reciprocity is so ingrained in our relationship that it's hard to even identify how it shows up on a day-to-day basis. To the both of you, I recognize that your relationship is not a sisterhood, but you have known each other for 10 years, and it hasn't always been easy. You've been through long periods where doing the math of how much you're each showing up for each other is impossible and not even worth calculating. Through it all, you've chosen to do the hard work of getting onto the same page and have been able to build a developed sense of empathy for each other. Intimacy ebbs and flows, even with the closest people in your life, and it's not about whether or not you're going to encounter moments of imbalance, but what you do when you experience them. I hope that you always choose to tend to each other, even when it feels impossible to do the work to get on the same page. And really, I just hope that you both recognize what the other gives you, like it's the shirt off their own back, and find it in your heart to accept it gratefully, like it came from your own closet. Melissa and Chris, remember to hold reciprocity close to you as a blessing for the rest of your life. I love you both so, so much. I'm so excited for you.
Chris and Melissa, I offer you the blessing of acceptance. So I've gotten pretty good at pleasant small talk with coworkers. I've gotten pretty good at staying fun-loving and energetic with friends. I'm a pretty happy guy for the most part, but not all the time. You know, sometimes, as we all do, I walk into my childhood home and it's there that I notice a shift in my mood. Nothing dramatic, but it's there that I get a free pass to be grumpy, bummed out, irritable, anxious, whatever it is. You know, the normal stuff we all feel from time to time. But usually the stuff that's not so pleasant for others to be around, or that we tell ourselves isn't for others. Not that the pleasant, jokey, smiley me isn't genuine, it is, or that I'm completely faking it through the workday, I'm not, but it's also not everything, right? You know, I feel badly sometimes, though, that the people I love the most see this less pleasant side of me most often. It feels backwards. Shouldn't they get the most pleasant me? Shouldn't I be trying to impress them like I'm trying to impress my coworkers? Or shouldn't I be trying to be the most interesting or funny party guest I can be at dinner with my parents and my brother? I mean, I hope they get that from time to time, but the fact remains I'm free to be my struggling self around them, which turns out is the blessing of acceptance in a relationship. So I want to talk about acceptance in a relationship. That is acceptance in a loving relationship of being accepted as you, accepting the other in all that they are, however they are that day, however they're feeling in that moment, and offering that blessing to the other in return. I remember one time a year or so ago, I was having a really bad couple of weeks. Nothing too dramatic or nothing too bad on paper, just a small amount of stress in different parts of my life kind of accruing at once. I didn't even really realize that I was holding on to so much until I came home and went through the usual catching up spiel with Chris and my parents, and you know, the usual updates: work, social life, relationships. But after a normal day at work, you know, I was fine. When I walked in and started, you know, doing the Doug performance at home, my voice was a little bit slower, lower in volume. My eyes were looking down, maybe sitting a bit slumped. And this performance kind of took me by surprise. I actually was noticing just the shift there because I was in a fine mood and had a fine day, right? And they can instantly tell that something's off. And I wonder if some part of me wanted them to, you know? So the dysphoric demeanor that I suddenly took on, it was sort of automatic. But I think it's because I know it's safe to be that way there. So when they ask me what's going on, I kind of mumble and shrug through some of the usual stressors. And slowly more and more comes out. Honestly, don't even really remember what it was. This wasn't even that memorable probably of a day for anybody else. But when I stop, Chris is looking very carefully, and since he's got this very like sincere, sorry look on his face. That he like truly cares. These like minor stressors, he truly sees some pain in me that I didn't even really see. And I just like burst into tears. No one else can do that. And I think I have a lot to learn from Chris. In the way of acceptance. I mean, that's rare stuff, you know. I don't even remember like what you said or stuff. but just that he put his hand on me and said something simple that let me know he saw my pain underneath my irritable, withdrawn vibe, that he truly cared that I was hurting in some way. And yeah, he was right there in the discomfort with me. So his ability to offer other people a space to be truly themselves without judgment, with care, interest, and good humor is truly remarkable and something we should all aspire to in our relationships. And seeing that the grumpy, withdrawn, irritable, or worse sides of someone is what we all must face when we enter into long relationships of love and cohabitation and family. Acceptance is about how you respond to them in that spot, or don't respond, depending. So I'm truly grateful we get to be here today to celebrate Chris and Melissa. If there's anyone I know that can offer a truly loving and caring stance to one another for a lifetime, it's the two of them. I've watched them grow together and become so connected as a couple, and I already do a lot of accepting of one another through life's unimaginable pains. So it means a lot to me to see Chris and Melissa getting married. And it means a lot for me that Chris is able to share and love a life with someone as awesome as Melissa. Man, it's hard to read with the choking up. I'm so happy for them and their future together. I hope that you both continue to practice acceptance in your worst hours. And I'm confident you will. Melissa and Chris, remember to hold acceptance close to you as the blessing for the rest of your life together.
After reflecting about what resilience means to me and what I see in Chris and Melissa, I see some combination of hope combined with presence and mindfulness. It's a belief, a faith that there is light and joy, a different way of living, despite and alongside the darkness. It's moving forward despite the challenges. It's being present and understanding the reality of the moment and still choosing to believe and to live. To access this faith, this light that always exists whether we see it or not, it requires practice and practice of being aware. Sometimes I experience my most resilient self when I am totally and completely overwhelmed and in awe by how many shapes and colors and textures and smells and feelings on my skin and in my body I have at once. Mary Oliver writes, "We shake with joy, we shake with grief. What a time they have, these two housed as they are in the same body." I felt this so deeply when in 2014, after spending the night in the hospital with Chris, walking outside at 5 a.m. to get to work, seeing the moon bright above me, I froze in complete awe of the beauty, the light. It became a sort of grounding reminder to me every day to see this beautiful being in the sky, perhaps made more beautiful by the parallel pain. The deepest resilience and deepest joy and deepest mindfulness come alongside pain and suffering. I often look to plants and nature to better understand people. Plants are resilient. In the greenhouse at the farm where I work, I noticed a small sunflower plant growing in the depths of winter. It was a volunteer, which means we didn't plant it, but it found its way to the back of the greenhouse somehow from the outside world, planted itself in a little mound of dirt, and sprouted in the winter from the small amount of winter sun. I watched it grow for a few months, all winter and into early spring. Right as it was getting ready to open its flower, it hit an obstacle. The table in the greenhouse, made of chicken wire, was in its way. I watched for a couple of days as the sunflower bent its body and grew in new and beautiful ways just to keep going. It didn't see the table as a roadblock. It just kept growing and incorporating it into its plan. It knew nothing else. A week later, the flower bloomed through a big hole in the chicken wire table. I remember conversations with both of you while Chris was in the hospital, and you both had the same mentality as that sunflower, accepting the reality in front of you and moving forward one step at a time, climbing towards the light, but creating your own light along the way. Chris and Melissa, you are resilient because of your strength, because the limit of your joy is so big, because you have known pain, yet you believe in a beauty despite and alongside the pain. Once again, Mary Oliver writes of her own cancer journey. I know you never intended to be in this world, but you're in it all the same. So why not get started immediately? I mean, belonging to it. There's so much to admire, to weep over. You could live 100 years. It's happened, or not. I'm speaking from the fortunate platform of many years, none of which I think I ever wasted. Do you need a little prod? Do you need a little darkness to get you going? I remember so clearly the first date you went on after having to isolate for over a year. I remember all of the homemade date nights you carved out and created for yourself, all the meals and walks that you allowed to be your light. It's hard for me to have words about how resilient you are because to me, to us in your community, you exemplify it. You have made me more resilient, more open to seeing the light before the end of the tunnel. What I hope for you is to keep choosing to cultivate every day a bit of hope and openness to the beauty and light, not despite or instead of, but alongside the pain and any challenges that arise. I hope you cultivate resilience with yourself, as partners, and cultivate it with and for your community. Melissa and Chris, remember to hold resilience close to you as a blessing for the rest of your life together.
All I can say is wow. I mean, the wisdom, the poetry that filled this space, I am just verklempt. And so then I'm to read the blessing of gratitude, been given the grace to read it and say some words about it and how they reflect upon Melissa and Christopher. And so here it is. With humility, simplicity, and grace, Melissa and Christopher illuminate this blessing of gratitude. I have been witness to this for some time now. In life's moments and in curious for what's possible, they have willingly found the joy of gratitude in the present moment. I believe that in the many blessings of life, there is always a divine presence coaching and cajoling us towards living in the moment. In this same way, Melissa and Chris have felt the blessing of gratitude with each new road they have taken. Gratitude comes, it seems to me, in both the good and hard times. Nonetheless, abundant blessings still rise up in the small, unassuming, and yet profound ways where you are sometimes compelled to stop and sense the goodness that comes. Melissa and Chris know this very well. Together, they have experienced the hurdles that come while traversing beauty and adversity in life. One might stop when the road is long, but not Chris and Melissa. Each crossroad has, I believe, informed and nurtured their love relationship. I have heard them speak it and seen them live through it. You know, the metaphor that asks us when will we see the light at the end of the tunnel? When will we see it? Do you remember the experience of the tunnel of love that comes in the form of a song, an amusement ride, a rail station? or a Broadway show, which takes us on a ride of our lives. Sometimes the ride is thrilling, sometimes it stalls, becomes a bit dark, then it's liberating, always bathed in glimpses of love and light. Each experience has its moments that unequivocally build us towards a stronger, more loving relationship. And I have seen Melissa and Chris face this tunnel of love with all it has to give, and each and every time I have seen them holding hands while together they seek the light again and again. Each time, as witness, I have been inspired. Beloved, blessed is the one then, I think, who has given each of you, the roots of divine gratitude, helping and lifting up each other to be strong and patient in the faith of life and the formation of a true love relationship. May all the blessings of gratitude then, you experience them, continue to inform you and your loving relationship. May abundant gifts then of gratitude help and remain with you and give you positive, thankful hearts, caring for one another your whole life long. A life that is committed to laugh, to cry, to love, and to dream. And so, Melissa and Christopher, remember to hold gratitude close to you as a blessing for the rest of your life together. Every one of you here today and listening afar, let's be in the spirit of prayer of the 7 blessings, shall we? Beloved of us all, we have listened to these creative blessings. Each have helped us reimagine new possibilities. We now wrap these thoughtful words spoken today in a gift of love for Melissa and Chris on their wedding day. May these blessings help them and us be inspired to learn anew. May we vision in us a generous spirit to share relationships that flow with reciprocity, to help us accept that we may not always find a smooth pathway, but to seek ways to be resilient in the midst of diversity and expressing gratitude in the momentary experience that we may come about. May it be so. A breath. I want to introduce to all of you dear ones the introduction to marriage vows, at which point we will hear Melissa and Christopher exchange their vows to one another and share their rings to one another. Melissa, Chris, there are no ties so tender, so sweetly woven as the vows you are about to take. The vows you will say to each other today have great importance, meant to be everlasting. They are a sacred and solemn vow. I now charge each of you to place these words you are about to speak as a tablet on your hearts, your whole life long. So it is that I ask you to face each other now and join hands
easier.
and express your vows of love and devotion.
Every day you tell me how much you love me. But have I told you how much I love you today? Of the two of us, you've always been the one where words come easy. You help me write my grad school application essay. You help me write my emails. You sometimes even help me write texts back to friends. Yet somehow my vows I had to write alone. As I sat down to write, I realized that after all these years of conversations and letters shared, your words are a part of me. I love you as big as the sturgeon moon we saw that rose from the sea as we dug our feet in the sand. I love you as much as all the minutes we spent in the hospital, sipping soup, watching movies, learning about each other and what it all meant. I love you for as many nights as I fall asleep with you scratching my head. I love you because you make me any food gluten-free, because of the time you hiked into the last leg of the long trail to meet me with a bouquet of flowers. I love you because you sing spontaneous songs about me, and because you tell me that I'm beautiful. I love you because you give me meaning, you teach me strength, you embody hope, because you help me see the in-between of all things. I love you because I love your smile. And I love you because with you, I've learned how to love and be loved. Today, under this woven canopy, I promise to love you forever. I promise to be curious with you and to wonder with you. I promise to listen to you and to feel with you. I promise to love your scars and to never forget the past and its weight on the present. I promise to forget the past and live in moments, to sing and dance with you in the kitchen. I promise that you will never be alone. I will be yours through everything. My Chris, I am so full of joy today, knowing that I get to be near you and experience life with you forever. And here's a ring.
Whoa. I know.
Hi.
When we first met, more than 10 years ago, a brand new universe began. Our love story started then as a small wish. In a journal entry from that time, just a few months of knowing you, amidst all the angst and complaining, I wrote, "Just got back from spring break. Melissa cut her hair pretty short, but it's cute up close." She was excited to see me, which was nice. In these early days of our universe, our love had the language of a small child. It was full of promise. I went on to write, "I can really see Melissa becoming a close friend. I hope so, because I really enjoy her company." Eventually, that wish took on its own character and life. We started building our own language together with extra words to say keep going and we'll try again tomorrow. I wrote you middle of the night love letters under starchy hospital bedding. It was impossible for me to envision a future, and yet I envisioned one with you. Thank you for always being honest with me. I have never had to doubt a word that came off your tongue. Thank you for learning how to ask me questions without presumption and finding new ears for my answers. Thank you for showing me how to find everyday joy, however fleeting. I relearn this every time I hear your laugh. It is so filled with such unfettered joy. Sometimes when I hear your laugh from another room, I half wonder if I might walk in to find you with your hair exploded right off the top of your head. So these are the vows I take now as your partner, your student, your lover, and your lifelong friend. Melissa, I promise to ground you when the randomness of our universe finds new interruptions for us, whether they are inconvenient or cruel or breathtakingly beautiful. I promise you the warmth and comfort of my hands and a bowl of soup when you need healing. I promise you independence to support you to reach your fullest potential, despite all the ways our together wishes might change. Melissa, I promise you pressed flowers hidden in old paperbacks to find decades from now. I promise to accept all parts of you, the parts you give freely, the parts you don't, the parts that confuse you, and the parts you don't even notice. I promise you platters of fresh fruit pre-cut into bite-sized pieces. And I promise to listen to you when you notice that we have lost our place, and I promise to join you through whatever tedious or difficult work it takes for us to find our way back. And now all my wishes know your name, Melissa Anna Green. I can think of nothing more significant than this life project with you. Nothing but new flowers anymore.
The ring. So wonderful. So wonderful are your vows. Are they not wonderful? Blessing. In this moment, I would just want to wish a blessing upon the rings of love and joy and devotion and everlasting in these moments. Holy One, in this most joy-filled day, bless these rings. Bless these rings. A symbol of the vows by which Melissa and Christopher have bound themselves to each other. May these rings serve them as a constant reminder of their woven covenant, their promise of loyalty and everlasting love. May it be so. Okay, questions for you, and questions eventually for all of you and you. Of intent and of support. Melissa Anna Green, will you have Christopher Aram Gazarian to be your husband, to live with him in the covenant of marriage? Will you love, support, comfort, and honor him in times of peace and disorder? Will you honor his dreams and help him fulfill them? To always give him your unwavering support, and above all else, to be himself? If so, say, I will. Christopher Aram Gazarian, will you have Melissa Anna Green to be your wife, to live with her in the covenants of marriage? Will you love, support, comfort, and honor her in times of peace and disorder? Will you honor her dreams and help her fulfill them? To always give her your unwavering support, and above all else, to be herself? If so, say I will.
I will.
Dear ones, as witness of this union, will you share your love, support, and do all possible to uphold the marriage of Melissa and Christopher? If so, say we will. Well then, by the authority of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts afforded to me, I now pronounce you husband and wife, partners for life, two persons woven in bonds of love. You may now seal these promises with a kiss. I now pronounce to you all the new married couple, Melissa and Christopher.
You want to try?
No.